In this week's episode of Working with Todoist, I want to show you how to turn an overwhelming project into an achievable project. Hello and welcome to episode 144 of my Working with Todoist series. My name is Carl Pauline, and in this week's episode I want to show you how to turn an overwhelming project into an achievable project. Now, when I've gone through this and when I've looked at many people's examples of how they structure a project, most of the problems with projects come about because of a vague goal within the project or a vague way of writing the project. So the next action or the next step is not immediately clear. Now, when you get into this problem with many projects, what you find you're doing is you're spending a lot of time thinking, okay, what do I really need to do next? Because your action steps, your tasks, or the next actions in GTD speak are not very clear. Now, this came about because Todoist recently posted a wonderful example on their Twitter feed, and I did capture it, and as you can see on the screen now, that this is a really clever example of how projects can appear overwhelming even though they only have one task in it. But when you break it down, it becomes much more achievable. And what I want to do is to show you how to do this so that you have a much better way of having your projects working together. Now, before we do move in, what I would like to do is, if you like this video, please click on the like button below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. Okay, let's get into Todoist and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so what the guys at Todoist actually showed was this particular task here, which is plan a birthday party. Now, the problem with plan a birthday party is that it is actually overwhelming. Now, we often talk about things being overwhelming because they have so many tasks in the list, but actually sometimes the way you're writing the task is actually causing the overwhelm. So imagine that you came home on a Thursday or a Friday night, you've had a busy day at work, and the remaining task on your list, the one remaining task on your list is plan a birthday party. Well, the problem with this is, where do you begin? Do you sit down with a piece of paper and sketch out some ideas? Do you call a restaurant? Do you call a DJ to come and do it? Where do you start? So what Todoist did was they actually showed an example, as I showed you in the introduction to this video, and these are the examples that they gave: is set a budget, choose a date, create a guest list, pick a venue, send out invitations, decide on menu, select great music. Now, this is actually a very good list, because if you look at the verbs being used at the beginning of the task, so set a budget, choose a date, create, pick, send, decide, and select. So each of those are actually verbs that we use to actually tell us exactly what to do. Now, if you can imagine yourself coming home on that Thursday or Friday night, and instead of having plan a birthday party, you actually have the phrase choose a date as the remaining task in your list, then that is a much more manageable task. So you may want to choose 2 or 3 days and then send out a message to your friends to ask them which day is going to be the best day for the birthday party. Equally, something like select great music. Well, now we've got Spotify and Apple Music. Creating or even just choosing a playlist is actually very easy. So this could be something as simple as a 10-minute task or a 5-minute task if you already have a few saved music playlists. So there's a lot of things that you could do. Each of these tasks is a much better way of setting out a project than it is to set out just a simple task like, well, what appears to be a simple task, plan out a birthday party, but actually is not, because the actual task itself creates the overwhelm because you just don't know where to start. Now, to create a list like this probably would take maybe 5 or 10 minutes, which is why it is so useful to spend that 5 or 10 minutes either at the end of the day and to plan out a project, or alternatively, you could actually plan out this as part of your weekly review. It depends how you view your weekly review. If your weekly review is just to go through everything, make sure things are dated and labeled correctly, then that's fine. But if you use your weekly review as a planning session as well, then this is a way that you can actually do it. So I wanted to show you this because the tweet that Todoist sent out was very good. It was pretty clear, but I just wanted to explain why it was so good, and so you can pick up some tips from this. So remember, the key really when you're setting out your tasks is to make sure you're using what I call action verbs. So set, choose, create, pick, send, decide, select, because they tell you exactly what you need to be doing. Of course, in this example, there's no labels and there's no dates set. I would probably go in there, set a budget. Well, that could be done anywhere. Choose a date. Probably I would say computer. Create a guest list. Again, could be created anywhere. Pick a venue. I would probably have internet or computer for that. Send out invitations. Well, if you're sending out invitations digitally, then presumably you'd send that out on your computer. Decide on menu. Again, is probably going to be online, and select a great music. Again, probably is online these days simply because of the Spotify or Apple Music. So there you go. Hopefully that's given you some clear indication of how you should be planning out your projects. Keep them as simple as possible. Make sure your tasks are using action verbs so you are very, very clear about what it is that you actually need to be doing. And after that, everything will work out perfectly for you. But as I say, this is the problem here. Plan out birthday party is just way too vague as a task. It could actually be a project. I've actually named this Sunny's birthday party, but plan out a birthday party would actually be a project title because I know we're using the phrase plan. But a birthday party is too big as a task. It needs breaking down, and this is actually the way to break it down. So I really want to thank the guys over at Todoist for posting this because it gave me the idea for this week's video. But also, it also reminded me that really sometimes we have to review how we're setting up projects, and this is one of the really, really important things to really understand about setting up projects, which is using these action verbs at the start of each project and breaking them down. In this case, we've got eight tasks, quite manageable. You could probably get that done in a week. Okay, thank you very much for watching this episode. It just remains for me now to wish you all a very, very productive week.